Andy Aledort, and I'd like to devote the next couple of in-deep columns to one of the greatest guitar players in the world of blues and rock, and someone that I'm very proud to say I got to know pretty well, Johnny Winter. Johnny Winter very sadly passed away this past June 16, 2014, and absolute icon of blues and rock guitar, contemporary of Jimi Hendrix and Jeff Beck, came up in the late 60s, and just a phenomenal guitar player. And one of the things that was so great and distinctive about him was he was very dedicated to the blues and learning from Delta blues like Robert Johnson and Lightning Hopkins, and then electric blues, B.B. King, Albert King, Freddie King, and he combined all these things into his own sound. So for this first column, I'm going to focus on country-style, finger-picked blues, which Johnny did quite a bit on in the records that he made with Muddy Waters, such as Hard Again. All right, this part represents the intro of a blues song, 12-bar, 1-4-5 blues in the key of A. So the 1 chord is A, 4 chord is D, or D7 with an F-sharp bass, and the 5 chord is E, or E7. So this is a typical turnaround, represents the last 4 bars of a typical 12-bar blues progression. So in those last 4 bars, you go from a bar of E to a bar of D, and then a bar and a half of A, and then 2 beats in the last bar back on the 5 chord. That's called the turnaround. I also should make note of the fact that I'm using hybrid picking. Johnny Winter wore a thumb pick, so he hybrid picked all the time. I'm not using a thumb pick. I have to hold the pick with the index finger and thumb, and then I'm using my ring finger to finger pick the higher strings. So since the first figure is over an E chord, I play this. So these are sixths in the key of E. A little chromaticism here. So you have your major third of E, G sharp, and the high E. And then each note goes up within the Mixolydian scale of E, but with this one chromatic passing tone. B flat to B, and G natural to G sharp. And you'll see the G string is picked with the pick, high E string with the finger. And then I use the pick while I'm still holding this note to pick the top 2 strings, which I allow to ring. And then this next figure is pretty cool. I'm bringing some palm muting in to walk up to this F sharp, the major third of D. So instead of a regular D chord, we have D7 with an F sharp bass. So you can see I'm repeatedly picking the low string with the pick, but finger picking the G string and the B string. And there's an alternating thing happening between the G string and the low E string. And also when I pick the B string, I simultaneously pick the low E. And then I wrap up just by walking down right here. So that's an A blues scale. We're in A, so A blues works perfectly. And then right here, this little again, you can see the finger picking. The pick's used for the D string, and then my ring finger is for the B string and the high E. So I'm going to pick the D and B simultaneously, and then go from the D to the high E. In a syncopated manner. And these are sixths as well, all chromatic, based on A mixolydian. And then at the end of that, I hammer into this little E7 shape just on the top 3 strings. So you have to make sure your fingers are standing up straight so that those top 3 strings will ring clearly. All right, so we're in a 12-bar blues form now. This is the verse section. And in this particular type of 12-bar blues, I'm staying on the 1 chord A for the first 4 bars. And that way I can play different melodies over that A pedal tone. So I start off like that. And in a way, this sort of emulates open tune blues. That Johnny learned from listening to guys like Robert Johnson. So right here, I'm going to pick those 2 A notes together, and then the top A goes down to G. And then I switch to arpeggiating the chord, picking 1 string at a time. Drop that A bass note pedal tone in again. And this is nice. So what's happening is I have this little melody on the top 2 strings, all played against that C sharp major third. Do it again. And again, you can see I'm hybrid picking all the time. I'm going to go back into my D with an F sharp bass figure here. But then at the end of the 2nd bar, I play a different melody. So that's kind of a little bit of a tricky thing. I'm throwing in a move to the 5 chord in the middle of the 1 chord. After we come out of the 4 chord, right here, it's just 1 beat of A, and then to E. Actually, 2 beats of A, 2 beats of E, back on A. So the idea here, the sort of the riddle of it, is to come up with little melodic single note patterns that are going to connect the chords and describe the chords really accurately. So after I go, this sounds like E. So when I come out of that, I'm going to slide into my C sharp to A so that I'm describing my return to A chord really clearly. back to that figure we've used before. But this time, I'm going to go from the 4 chord and interject that 5 chord again really quickly. So after the so we went to the 4, back to the 5, and then I use that exact same figure, little melodic shape, to go from E back to A. But this time, for the turnaround, instead of going down from the 5th fret, I'm going to go up. Just the opposite direction. First time we went this way, keeping the high A pedal tone. This time, and then it ends the same way.